You believe that your son's autism is linked to the vaccination?
I believe so, yes.
The autism controversy continues. Robert De Niro opens up about his son, blaming his autism on vaccines, even in the face of overwhelming evidence that says the actor is wrong. Today, a local autism advocate discusses the new research that may finally end the debate. The NFL draft comes to Philly next month. It's another touchdown for the city, but what's in it for the locals? And the story behind a popular St. Paddy's Day treat, Irish potatoes. You might be surprised how the Philly tradition got started.
NBC 10 at Issue starts now.
And good morning to you. I'm Erin Coleman for NBC 10 at Issue. It is a controversy that continues to make headlines, linking vaccines to autism. Like most other established medical organizations, the American Academy of Pediatrics says no link exists, and the group calls it dangerous to the public's health to suggest otherwise. Yet others, like actor Robert De Niro and anti-vaccine activist John F. Kennedy Jr., disagree. The men recently voiced their concerns to NBC 10's Tracy Davidson.
Thank you both for being here. The organization World Mercury Project, your organization, is devoted to raising public awareness of the dangers of mercury. Mr. De Niro, let me begin with you. Why did you want to become part of this group?
Well, because my son, I've been affected personally. My son has autism, and I love my child more than anything. Wouldn't change him, but it's still, his life has been altered forever.
So to be
and
clear,
we live with it every day.
Yeah. So to be clear, you believe that your son's autism is linked to the vaccination?
I believe so, yes.
We have an epidemic of childhood injuries and diseases now in this country that I think the science is very clear that it's related to the mercury in vaccines.
I know you met with the President Trump, about this issue. What did you want? What did you want to tell him? And what did he tell you?
He said he had a lot of friends who had been affected, whose children had gotten autism from vaccines, had changed after getting the vaccines. He said he was not ready to dismiss it because, you know, as the CDC says, that there's nothing to this, that he was skeptical of that.
Could there be another environmental factor at play here?
Well, of course there could, and I think there probably are a number. I mean, we're living in a toxic world right now. And I don't think vaccines are causing all of the autism epidemic, and part of it is diagnostic as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's just something is there, and we need to do something about it.
Mr. De Niro, Mr. Kennedy, thank you both so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Now, the organization Autism Speaks disagrees with that. On its website, it says each family has a unique experience with an autism diagnosis, and for some, it corresponds with the timing of their child's vaccinations. At the same time, scientists have conducted extensive research over the last 2 decades to determine whether there is any link between childhood vaccinations and autism. The results of this research is clear. Vaccines do not cause autism. The Children's Hospital of Philadelphia cites a recent study. It found children who were fully vaccinated in the first year of life were not more likely to develop autism than those whose parents had chosen to delay vaccines. And with me now is Raymond Cristofoletti. He is the executive director of Durand. It's an organization that provides educational support to people with developmental disorders like autism. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, your organization does not believe that there's a link between autism and vaccines, correct?
Correct. In all the literature that you cited, including the CDC, they've not found any link or anything in the vaccines that would, contribute to the link.
So in your opinion, when there is so much evidence against linking vaccines to autism, why does this controversy keep coming up? We keep hearing about it.
Well, the autism field is very contentious. There's many warring camps, and there's very strong feelings and very passionate feelings. And when you do have celebrities going on television and staking out a certain position, and some of the research may be funded by pharmaceuticals, it lends to maybe not believing the scientific studies. But we're for safe vaccines. If you still want to research it or evaluate it, no problem, but we see no evidence at all, and we do not recommend that to our families.
Now, there is new research that is diagnosing autism at a very early age,
Right.
much earlier than ever before. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, that came out with the University of North Carolina, their Institute of Developmental Disability. They did some research, and they did with brain scans, and they noticed a change in the brain. The brain develops quite rapidly, and at 6 months and at 24 months, they saw changes, and they were able to predict at an 80% rate or 81% that these infants would develop autism. So it was a very robust study, limited on clinical limitations, but the thinking is that if you can predict autism at 6 months, then there's possible early intervention things that you could attempt to see if they would be successful. So it was a real compelling piece of research, and it was done with high-risk infants, and so they have to replicate the study with further sample bases, but that was pretty significant, and it all related to the size of the brain and how it grew, and it was different than a normal population.
Do you think that the fact that scientists can possibly diagnose autism before children are getting the bulk of their vaccines, do you think that this is going to finally put an end to all of this?
Hopefully, and absolutely, no question. A lot of research is going down that line, so you would hope it would.
You have a personal connection. Your grandson has autism.
Well, yes. I have seven wonderful grandchildren, but my sixth grandchild, I could tell at 4 months when I was looking at him, unbeknownst to anyone in the family, that I believed that he was autistic. The way he would stare at me, and when he got a look, and I talked to one of my colleagues about it, and he recommended you can't do anything. You can't tell your family. You can't tell your daughter-in-law. You can't tell your son. You're going to upset them. But I was certain that he was going to be autistic. And then when he started standing, and he had some of the characteristics of being autistic, I knew, and that was way before he even got the vaccine. So clinically, I did pick up at 4 months, and when he would come to visit me, he always had an attraction to me because I did compression with him, held him tight. So everybody thought he would always gravitate to him. So I would always talk in his ear that we have a secret. I will help you as best I can. And I got my daughter-in-law and my son to get early intervention with him. And if you get 20 hours a week early intervention and you do ABA, you can't cure autism, but you can really improve behaviors.
Talk a little bit about that. How can children benefit from the earlier diagnosis and, in turn, the earlier intervention?
Well, early intervention is very important because you really have to prepare families. The emotional impact of getting a diagnosis of autism has a tremendous impact on in-laws, grandparents, sons and daughters. So it's a life-changing event, and many families get overwhelmed. So one of the early diagnoses would be to help families prepare to make the right moves, the right course of action for them. In terms of long-term, they will probably come up with different treatment methodologies to see if they will work at an early age to reverse autism. But I would say one of the big takeaways is getting the families prepared for a lifetime of challenges. You know, every day is an emotional challenge, and things that were easy, toilet training, feeding, going to bed, is very challenging for our families.
Brand new research just released this week discovered 18 genes linked to autism that cause unique changes in the DNA of people with the condition. Researchers say it is further proof that there isn't just one type of autism. There's a spectrum here. Do you agree with that? This is brand new stuff.
Yeah, I think it just came out this week. Yeah, if you met one person who had autism, you've only met one person who had autism, because the spectrum is so wide and so big. So I think that's great research that they were able to diagnose the genes in terms of its contribution to causing autism. And I think a lot of the research is going to go that way. There's a lot of money being spent. There's a lot of research because you really have an epidemic going on in the country. The numbers are staggering and they're growing. We see in our agency tremendous increase in referrals for services all the time.
Wow. All right, so if you had the chance, what would you tell Robert De Niro or Robert Kennedy Jr.?
What would I tell them? Well, they have to, their reality is real to them, but we believe that, vaccines do not cause, autism, and so we would not want to go down that road. I would promote other types of research.
And that early intervention, if you can get it.
Early intervention for your child makes the world a difference, without question.
Raymond Cristofoletti, thank you for being here with us. We appreciate your time.
Appreciate it.
Next on NBC 10 at Issue, the NFL Draft will be in town next month, and organizers say the event has something for everyone, even if football is not your thing. And it's all free.